I think people are slowly finishing trickling in here and online as well. We have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker here. Craig Milroy is the principal architect for the data and AI architecture practice of Microsoft Canada. Craig brings over 20 years of enterprise leadership experience in data and architecture within Canada's financial services and telecommunications sector. He's passionate about enabling data innovation in the cloud to accelerate business partner outcomes. Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Why don't you take it away, Craig?
Thank you. Today we'll, welcome to the Microsoft Virtual Workshop, Democratizing Information, Enabling Transformation with Data and AI. Happy to be here and privileged to present to this group this afternoon. Let's see if we get this going here. All right, my name is Craig Milroy. I'm the principal data architect, data and AI here at Microsoft Canada. Use the pronouns he and him. And today I'm wearing a blue collared shirt, have blue eyes, and very short hair to hide the gray. No glasses today. I am Caucasian and live in Toronto, Canada, where this presentation is taking place. Today, keep in mind, this is a level 100 high-level introduction, always available to deep dive in any topic covered today at a future session. Today, we're going to dive into, we want to learn and understand the latest data architecture trends across your data estate. We want to enable some business outcomes for your most strategic business asset, which is data. Currently, there's about three conversations that are the hot topic of the day. Firstly, we want to untangle the latest data architecture trends with cloud scale analytics, introducing data mesh, data fabric, data lakehouse. We also want to understand the data within your data estates with unified data governance. And finally, we want to enable some value from your open data with data contracts, data sharing, and data products. Just to kind of look back before we go forward, earlier this year, Microsoft Canada completed a survey, kind of revealed gaps between what business leaders from both public and private sector say is good for business and their actions. And a bit surprised in terms of how the survey came, the survey results, in terms of 34% plan to make better use of the data they have. We all figured that would be a priority for the majority of organizations in the coming year. Just curious in terms of what the other 66% are doing with their data. Truly something to think about when we're evolving quickly into a data-driven, data-driven business as we go forward. The other side is 71% said their company is on par within industry or is a leader within their industry for digital sophistication. Kind of interesting to figure out when we arrived at the we're good enough stage. We also have to keep in mind that change is constant, and we should also be continually evolving our business, our tech, and really our understanding of data. And 46% of organizations said they want to become more data savvy. Not sure what data savvy means, but I suspect more data driven. Hopefully that's what they answer in the survey. And finally, 18% have no plans to adopt further data analytics tools or services. This is a this is an enterprise architecture's dream in terms of not having to onboard new tools. I'm not sure if that's possible within the data science space when consider new libraries and tools appear in that data science sandbox almost on a weekly basis. Good news, the public sector truly understands the importance of data and agrees that it's integral to organizational success. Certainly leading the private sector in terms of understanding the importance of data. Interesting is that only 31% decision makers claimed or understood that they have a comprehensive data strategy. In 2022, I'm not sure how you cannot have a data strategy in place. Some concern, are we, the other 69%, are we just winging it on the data file? Something to consider. And then finally, 22% feel their organization's data-driven or led. Quite interesting because we're talking about open data, we talk about AI, machine learning, data science, a lot of things data, a lot of opportunity in 23 to really think data differently, change and improve the organization as we head into the new year. And finally, some common challenges that organizations face with data. I think we all can relate that the majority have difficulties with data integration projects due to lack of staff and relevant skills. I have not met anyone to date in 2022 that's not having difficulties onboarding skills or resourcing. The other piece is, 82% stated that data quality represents a barrier to data integration projects. I think a lot of individuals have been trying to sell the need for data quality from point of data capture, and that continues to be a challenge. And data quality, as we go through the data lifecycle, gets much more expensive to resolve as we go through the steps rather than trying to fix it at source. And then finally, 40%, time spent on data cleaning, integration, preparation. A lot of data science teams spend more time fixing data rather than surfacing new business insights and outcomes. This is a key issue I think we're all faced with, and we need to kind of readjust our investment that we're putting quality up front, so we can extract business insights from our data science teams at the consumption layer. So many new data industry terms in the last few years. So let's start untangling the latest data architecture trends with cloud scale analytics. Gonna introductory conversation around data mesh, data fabric, and data lakehouse. Many organizations in enabling the business to derive value from the organization's data. We have complexity where we're working with complex and legacy data architectures that don't scale. More teams engaging with data within silos or lines of businesses going alone, avoiding that centralized data team at all costs. We certainly have uncertainty in terms of the technology and the innovation that continues to advance and evolve on a yearly basis. Really need to make strategic bets in terms of evolving your platform and approach. Really a lack of clear guidance on where to start and how to bring value. Yet another data product, another vendor, more new technology that will solve the business data problem this time around. I think we've all been there where we spend, bringing new technology in to solve the same business problem that we couldn't solve with a different vendor prior. Governance, typically we prioritize security, prevents access to data and stifles innovation. The security decree in terms of no data will ever be put in the cloud. So that our creative business partners find a way to put data in the cloud and circumvent processes. And that kind of leads to lack of consistent processes and policies that create business value and create business data silos. Key piece here in terms of skilling, as mentioned before, is that how we operate on-prem and in the cloud is quite different. And finally, the lack of real-time trusted data to make decisions can slow the process down even more. Businesses truly looking for time to value. We really want to accelerate new solutions in days or weeks rather than months and sometimes years to deploy and achieve return on investment. Beyond what is mentioned on the slide, business capabilities, the business is looking for, to quickly provision trusted data analytical assets that supports their business strategy. They're really looking for, top-down accountability and governance for all data and AI programs. Think about architecture foundation for connecting data across, your distributed data landscape. Industrializing data asset production. Think about data cataloging and enterprise data governance. A lot of those key pieces are still missing in many organizations today. Other business teams, they're looking to establish an organization's data analytics marketplace for self-service, so they can quickly gain bring out data assets and create business value and business outcomes. Other organizations are looking to integrate AI into all business processes to maximize business value. Really need to think about how you integrate analytics into your day-to-day business operations. How do you do on-demand insights on a daily or hourly basis? And how do you start to deploy real-time analytics to monitor business operations? We've all wanted that dream for a year, for quite some time. I think now with cloud and other capabilities, we're able to achieve that. And then finally, businesses are looking for, how do we integrate innovation and collaboration, not only in our business, but across business and IT. So we're acting as one organization as we go forward. Your typical, modern data strategy, goals and objectives. Typically, top goals. The business wants to, monetize their data. They want to democratize their data. They want to become a data-driven organization. First and foremost, they want to have data protection and security. Certainly don't want to, impact any PII data. They want to drive value out of their data as they go forward, and they want to collaborate across organizations. And then the focus, you kind of want to empower the business with business outcomes. A lot of organizations are looking for a cloud-first strategy to gain more time for business value creation. So how do we start to extract, all the complexity and make it simpler to achieve business value? How do we also empower our, business analysts or data analysts, around citizen data analytics or citizen data science? And how do we start to think about, data governance as top-down enterprise approach? Define data stewards across the organization, define data standards, and then at the end, how do we evolve data as a product and think differently about data that's traditionally been an afterthought for many organizations? Here's a throwback to the journey of the history of the data in terms of, in the late 80s, we had a data warehouse. I recall one bank in the early 90s was so skeptical of data warehousing as the mainframe had all the answers the business would ever need. Placed the data team not in the basement, but the sub-basement of the technology center. And, think about today where data is in the C-suite. We have the chief data officer, we have, chief security officer that are all very focused on data. Typically, the data warehouse is where you store, multiple data sources to be used for historical or trend analysis. We had the startup of, business intelligence at the time. And, we try to create that central repository for many subject areas, build that single version of truth. Very few, achieve that business objective at the enterprise level. So with that, we kind of moved on to the late 2000s without much data warehousing success. We moved on, let's try the data lake, right? In terms of Hadoop. And everyone all of a sudden had big data. If you recall, data was the new oil, and we would pour all our enterprise data into the data lake, and answers would magically appear. Only if it was that simple. What followed the data lake was the concept of the data swamp. And then by mid 2010s here, we kind of moved to the cloud in terms of the cloud data platform. We are overburdened with the infrastructure complexity of Hadoop and other big data solutions, which really drove the need to migrate to the cloud. How do we rationalize our infrastructure and take advantage of distributed compute and lower cost storage? And then in the last 3-4 years, we kind of adopted this new concept around the data lakehouse, new open data management architecture that combines the flexibility, cost efficiency, the scale of data lakes. However, it brings the data management and capabilities of a data warehouse. So best of both worlds, which would enable business intelligence, machine learning, all in one place. So here we are today. But if you look back at just last year, in terms of 2021, we kind of moved from a centralized view to a decentralized approach. And data mesh architecture was introduced. Decentralized approach that enables domain teams to perform cross-domain analysis on their own. You certainly did not need to pour all your data into a centralized data lake or data warehouse. And it really enabled the core, the team, whether it's HR, finance, or other, business domains, to be responsible for the data, operationalize and drive analytics from that data. So really kind of different approach in terms of, enabling a lot of those silos. But the key piece here is that those silos could work independently. However, they needed to share their data via data products to other domains as required. So almost essentially, best of both worlds as we went forward. Truly, one of the largest challenges of all enterprise architects have faced it, they're faced with today is how we're going to simplify the traditional data architecture. We have all this investment and we assembled the pieces of services like Lego. And now we have this Lego toy that we can't take apart because it will all fall apart. And, the pieces aren't as manageable as we first thought. So this traditional approach takes a lot of resources and skills to ensure that the complex architecture and complex enterprise requirements are met. And when you kind of look at each standalone component of the current architecture we have, all 6 enterprise needs need to be met. And when we start to add cloud services and other capabilities, this could really mean 36 points of failure, efficiency or cost. So every additional cloud platform or technology we add, it incurs its own cost and its own burden. And complexity and time doesn't really drive business value. So it's really time to think differently. So a couple of new terms in terms of enter the industry. Data fabric, I think, was struck by Gartner. And it was really about adding some capability to your current data warehouse platform, like data access, data policies, data virtualization. How we can bring data science tools into the current state. And really, that was a technology-centric framework. How do we source more data? How do we put more technology to it, with the hope and intent of driving more business outcome and business value? We had the data lakehouse that, typically data architecture today suffer from 4 problems. We have reliability in terms of keeping the data lake and warehouse consistent. Staleness of data in terms of the data in the warehouse is typically older depending on the ETL and batch cycles. Limited support for advanced analytics. Machine learning systems don't necessarily work well on those traditional data warehouse constructs. And cost of ownership. We had a data lake, a data warehouse. It all drives costs as data is duplicated and copied across your data estate. So the data lakehouse kind of struck out in terms of, creating in-place machine learning, time travel in terms of data versioning, rollbacks, and audit trail. They introduced streaming and batch unification so we could get that sort of data currency, more frequent data. It provides you the capability, to have deletes and upserts like traditional database systems. And finally, performance improvement. So it's a best of both worlds. And then finally, data mesh. It's more of a mindset shift as we went forward with 4 key principles that any data mesh implementation should embody to achieve the promise of scale while delivering quality, integrity, needed to make the data usable. Firstly, domain-oriented, decentralized data ownership and architecture. So you have finance domain, HR, risk and compliance. You want to think about data as a product. As you manufacture that product, you can ship it across the organization. You also want to provide self-service data infrastructure as a platform, and you also want to federate compute. So that really, sort of ties into the cloud mindset. A couple key considerations for data mesh as a data strategy. You want to look at, data monetization and data-driven organization. You want to ensure that framework that promotes data sharing, publishing of data, data discovery, more importantly, data interoperability. You want to unify data producers, for example, the business with data consumers, that could be business or IT, data engineers, which are typically IT, and you want to combine them all into one data product team. Really think about how do you accelerate your data value chain within your organization. The other piece is around data governance, data security, data quality as well. How do you enforce data governance by default rather than after the fact? So it's foundational. And how do you enforce proper data security and quality by default as well? 2 key constructs as we go forward. Key piece around we want to business value creation. Collaboration between business and IT is essential for success. We want to enforce users to treat data as a business asset. It's just not, something that IT has. We want to drive teams to prioritize business outcomes for the business instead of, obsessing about technology. We need this new tool or this new vendor. Think about what the business outcome you're attempting to achieve, and then work backwards in terms of how to solve it. I think a key piece here is that, data mesh is not a replacement for your data warehouse or data lake. It's an alternative. Many organizations with a simple data model, low volume of data, a few data domains may, data lake, data warehouse may make sense. Yeah, larger organizations with, complex data models, high volume of data, many data domains, might transition into a data mesh. And, large enterprises that may actually work out, rather than trying to, re-architect and consolidate and centralize all your data technology. So the shift in terms of data mesh, we're moving from centralized ownership, we're pipeline as a first-class concern. No longer is data a byproduct. We're no longer working in a silo teams, and we're kind of decentralizing data lakes and warehouses, and we're shifting towards decentralized ownership. That requires clear data governance, so everyone understands who owns what data across your organization. Data domain as a first-class concern. Cross-functional domain data teams. You want to build an ecosystem of data products through a data catalog. You also want to increase scale without increasing complexity of your data estate. Just to summarize, in terms of data mesh principles, we certainly want to have a domain-oriented decentralization, data ownership and architecture, focus on data as a product, self-serve. We want self-serve data as a platform to be domain-oriented, autonomous, so we're not always having to go back to that team. We can sort of go to that internal website to kind of bring that data down. Federated governance to enable ecosystems interoperability. And data mesh solves a couple of key problems in terms of data monetization, data democratization, starts to shift towards that more data-driven culture, empowers the business, it treats data as a business asset, really focuses on business value and time to value. So how do we get into days and weeks to drive that value rather than months and years? And business and IT no longer work in silos. They work collaboratively together to produce data products for the business outcomes. So to make data mesh real with a modern data platform and focus business outcomes, we want to enable a data strategy to overcome data challenges by iteratively building scalable and agile modern data platform. Rather than trying to meet competing organizational business needs and models, data mesh, the modern data mesh strategy enables architects to play a more consultative role. So let's focus on the domain rather than enterprise. Architects can now provide lines of business with platform and systems to self-serve their data and analytical needs without needing to solve for the enterprise as a whole. And at the end of the day, we want to improve data quality. We want to facilitate trust in the data. We want to make and improve data-driven business decisions. We want to implement holistic data management and analytics at scale. Establish a robust data governance that enables self-service and flexibility for all lines of business, and maintain security and legal compliance in a fully integrated environment. So now we don't have to solve that for the entire enterprise, but we can solve domain by domain and start to evolve those constructs from successful domains into other domains and start to build those patterns out. What we've done today in terms of, typically databases are always first, and data governance tends to be last. Today we generate data far faster than we can actually understand it, and without the right people, processes, and capabilities in place, it can certainly be difficult to answer key business questions in terms of what data do I have? Is it trustworthy? Are the people getting the data that they need to make the right decisions? Is the business getting the data fast enough? And are we managing data in a secure and compliant way? Very fragmented. I think all organizations are kind of challenged with those, four key questions. And what we've done at Microsoft is kind of put, data governance first and foremost in terms of how do we ensure that all your data assets are connected. How are they managed in a cohesive fashion? We sort of create a cloud data platform to empower organizations to create business value rather than spending time integrating and managing all those various technologies across their data estate. So we're kind of focused on the next period of time as we go forward is in terms of we want to accelerate innovation from your data. We really want to focus on business outcomes in terms of what's the priority for business and what data do we need to apply to those business outcomes. We want to make it achieve agility. How do we pivot faster to respond to dynamic business environments with the integrated platform? Let's build what you want. Really focus on those business outcomes, those business insights, and we certainly want to build out leverage a platform that we can trust the data. It's high quality. It has secure data security built in. Has data privacy controls. So all the key data governance constructs that have been absent or have been stitched together over the years. Finally, so we kind of put this together, excuse me, create this platform that that kind of fits into your data mesh conversation. We kind of built it out using architecture patterns that really simplifies the provisioning of the environment by at least 70%. Comes with all the key capabilities from machine learning, Apache Spark, serverless, Purview or data governance, and really empowers the end user with Power BI and machine learning. We kind of basically it's a rethink of how we approach data architecture and engaging create a business platform to solve your data business questions. So first part, so cloud adoption framework, data management analytics. This sort of starts to describe data mesh, what Microsoft's doing with data lakehouse, and how all these pieces come together. So it's a great starting point to get to start to deep dive in some of the newer architectures as we go forward. All right, understanding your data with your data state with unified data governance. Struggled for almost 15, 20 years trying to bring data governance from Excel into some sort of tool that organizations can leverage. And finally, I think with the cloud, data governance is sort of becoming that first party of conversation, which is fantastic. Typically, data challenges across the enterprise. Many organizations, we have disparate systems and data silos. We certainly have poor data quality. Certainly need for frictionless data governance. I know there's a lot of opposition to data governance and what's the value of data governance. Really challenging to balance data access with data protection. I've seen a lot of security teams say no data outside the organization. So that sort of makes it a little bit challenging to move to the cloud. Ideally, organizations want to have actionable insights in a timely basis to the business. Robust data governance, top down, in terms of how we're going to drive data governance across the organization. Extract value from hidden data. There's a lot of data that's hidden in silos or not shared. So how do we start to extract the value of that? And finally, how do we reduce costs, drive operational efficiency of our data estate? Is really key to a lot of organizations. A few weeks back, we had a group of CDOs come together, and we asked the provocative question of why data governance. And the the first question out of the box, or the first CDO sort of answered, it's to check the compliance box. We didn't want to do data governance, but we had to do data governance. Which is surprise, but it was interesting how quickly the CDO community pivoted and said, you know what, yeah, we had to. However, we started to shift the conversation from data governance of we have to how do we ensure that's a strategic business imperative as we go forward. Many CDOs sort of spoke about, enabling usage of the data, creating business value and velocity, establish, trust and understood data, establish a well-established data governance practice is critical for improving reporting analytics to not only internal consumers, but to regulators as well. And in terms of, consistency and use of data, especially for analytics, a lot of focus now on data governance, having that data catalog, having understood data. So it's a terrific conversation with the CDOs to kind of say, here's where we were and here's where we want to go from a data governance point of view. Some elements of successful data governance, typically top-down coordinated executive support with that's defined within a business strategy in terms of the business should be driving data governance and not a bottom-up IT, a typical IT approach. We want to manage your complex data landscape. We want to drive, data literacy across the organization, using data governance to overcome operational silos, data duplication, using data governance to, drive data agility, as well as, people and skills enablement via educational programs. How do we, establish a data culture? And finally, what we're seeing today is a lot of data governance is really bringing together data security, legal compliance, data privacy, and really putting some, all the chiefs together to talk about data and how do we secure it, how do we govern it, how do we ensure that we have legal and compliance against our data with regulatory demands and other government policies and laws that kind of whether it's the laws of Canada or laws of the U.S. or state or provincial specific. So how do we start to bring that together? So what we're seeing now is the collaboration of the chief data officer, the CISO, privacy officers to leverage data governance to build that constructs to enable the enterprise view rather than working independently. They're all collaborating together now to solve a lot of the data challenges that organizations have. These cross-domain teams are seeking information protection, data governance, risk management, compliance solutions, so that data teams can manage their data state from a single pane of glass. So when the CDO and CISO get together, they're having one conversation with a trusted source of information in terms of what the status of the data is across the organization. How do we create that visibility across the environment to help close exposure gaps, simplify data management tasks through automation, stay up to date to regulatory requirements. A lot of questions is, where's all our PII data? What databases have them? Who has it? So it's really key in terms of, as data evolves to, strategic business asset, how do we start to manage that asset more effectively? So a couple of key, constructs in terms of, for CDO or data governance, we kind of built out an understanding governed data capability. CISO, it's, safeguard data wherever it lives. And then finally, from risk and compliance, privacy and compliance and legal, we want to improve risk and our compliance posture. So we built out Microsoft Purview, relatively new. We kind of brought it into conversations. Risk and compliance was a separate product, and unified data governance was another specifically for data governance. But we brought those two products together to create that, single pane of glass. Typically, the risk and compliance, you had information protection, data loss, data lifecycle, insider risk. More of that, Office 365 or SharePoint, where that data sat, unstructured data. But however, today we're going to focus on unified data governance, which includes, data map, data catalog, and data estate insights. So more data governance centric, for data governance, data governance executives, for your CDO, and that side of the house. We really wanted to enable organizations to govern and protect their data across multi-cloud, multi-platform data environments. Rarely today does anyone have just a data platform. They have it in the cloud, multiple clouds, on-prem, and elsewhere. So we really created Purview to create, capabilities to govern, protect, and manage the data estate wherever the data estate resides. We really want to enable, customers to manage and govern their on-premise software as a service. So if you look at, Salesforce and others, has a lot of data there as well. We really want to enable users to easily create holistic, up-to-date map of their data landscape, automated data discovery, ensure that we had a clear understanding of sensitive data classification, end-to-end data lineage, and really we want to enable the data producers, consumers, along with data officers, the ability to understand and govern their data more effectively, and provide that visibility that they don't necessarily have today in terms of understanding the complex data estate, understanding the complexity of your data assets across that data estate is lacking today. And that's why we kind of created that product. So a couple key pieces, data catalog, building out, business glossary, providing data definitions, synonyms, acronyms to different terms used throughout the organization. Typically, we got party, customer, clients, all typically meaning the same thing, but everyone kind of uses them in different ways. We really wanted to build out, glossary terms that can be tagged as, to specific assets, and really assist end users in understanding how and why the data is used. Clarity is essential when you're using data. Have data stewards sort of, endorse data assets, indicate that they're ready to use across the organization or business unit. We all agree that this is the, single, golden record for customer, perhaps. Data lineage capabilities enables, data citizens to trust enterprise data for consumption and accelerate their data journey. Really helps to understand data consumers, the end-to-end upstream, downstream journey of the data, where the data is coming from and where it's going and everything in between. So it really provides that graphical user interface of the data map, which is very useful in terms of mapping it across your organization, across your cloud assets. We created this data map that really enables a foundation for effective data governance. The graph describes data assets and the relationships across the data estate. It's essentially a knowledge graph that underpins the data catalog and all the features it provides. Key piece around, it automatically scans and classifies, extracts lineage across your organization. And it's a really unified map of data assets and the relationships, and really starts to form that foundation for data governance for your data estate. And finally, I think is really key about Purview is kind of having that data insights. I've been the challenge over the years in terms of trying to drive adoption and usage of data governance tools without really a lot of telemetry to really drive that how to really engage the end user of data governance. So we sort of built out capabilities that start to answer how many users are using Purview, what's the usage look like over time, what's the activity type, are they doing data curation, are they searching data, which assets are most used within the organization, or what are we missing within the data catalog. Insights is essentially the capability to start to grow your data governance practice across the organization using this capability. And key point here is that as we move towards more of a data mesh kind of construct, data sharing within or between organizations becomes key. Purview starts to drive that conversation in terms of, we can share data in place without any data duplication or data leaving your organization. We can provide real-time access to shared data. You can use data across other clouds internally within the organization to really drive data decisions. You can collaborate with external partners while centrally managing those relationships. You can leverage third-party data or data aggregators for data processing and analytics. Key point is storage and data access transactions are charged to data consumers on what they use rather than the data provider being charged. So it's a kind of a great model to kind of start to open your data to not only internally but to external use as well. If you have some unique data sets that could be used within the data community. A couple of key starting points on data governance. We published a white paper around CDO, the cloud table. Great white paper in terms of how Microsoft kind of evolved within our finance group. Microsoft Purview, if you're interested, around unified data governance. EDM Council. In 2021, we actually partnered with EDMC and 300 or so industry stakeholders to create the cloud data management capability framework. This framework is kind of open source and is really about how to accelerate moving data to the cloud. So an ideal starting point, if you're starting to move your data into the cloud or want to reconfirm, are you on the right path of adoption for data in the cloud? So please check out those couple of resources. And then finally, enabling value from your open data with data contracts, data sharing, and data products. A few ideas that we can sort of walk through over the next few minutes. Data democratization is key to make digital information accessible to the average non-technical user of information systems without having a gatekeeper or outside help to access the data. A couple of key pieces around data products or data that's served as a product and computed, saved, and served by persistent services, which can be required by certain use cases. Data contracts help you gain data insight usage because they provide information about who owns each data product. And then finally, data sharing agreements by extension of data contracts. The agreements outline data usage, privacy, security, purpose, and any limitations on sharing that data product. A couple of points on data products are data served as a product and computed, saved and served by data services. Well-designed data products are discoverable, understandable, and trustworthy. Data domain teams provide discoverability and understandability by sharing updated information about each data product, its data, its meaning, the format of the data, and its refresh cycle. You certainly want to communicate those changes in data to downstream consumers, so they have the the latest data set available to them. And you want to ensure that there's trust by providing backwards compatibility for each data product. Essential when you have multiple data product releases, whether on daily or weekly basis. You want to be able to have addressable, natively accessible, and secure data sets. You want to define processes for locating and gaining access to each data product. Ensure that there's necessary security measures for each access requirements that are in place. Think about data domain ownership that shifts from gatekeeping data to serving data within well-defined guidelines. Data access interfaces are well documented. And also consider commonly used interfaces for data products, such as APIs, tables, views, files within necessary access rights. And finally, think about interoperability, truthful, valuable. We want to ensure that data has interoperability by following common defined standards. You want to ensure that you have same values across each data set using the same name and same data type. Data products that provide value to customers and that can also be used for upstream resources for new data products or in the same or different domains. So you want to consider that. And then finally, think about data products must always provide high quality data. Certainly don't want to issue raw data as a data product, but think about gold qualification for data as you ship it out. Think about data contracts are relatively new but important addition to data mesh architecture. They provide transparency for data usage and dependencies. Data contracts are like service contracts or data delivery contracts. Data contracts help you set standards and manage data pipelines in a larger or distributed architecture. it can be difficult to oversee changes. So simplify your oversight by implementing versioning, managing capability, or sorry, compatibility, whenever you have a data product that is widely used. And that's where it gets back to data insights. In Purview, you can start to see that, who's using what data set and what's popular. Think about, data contract guarantees, service compatibility in terms of, service and service level agreements. Think about terms of service outline, how data can be used, such as restricting its use to only development, testing, or production, for example. Data contracts can help you gain data usage insights because they provide you information about who owns each data product. Data product distribution and usage has two key dimensions in terms of technical and business concerns. Think about technical concerns that it would include like data pipeline handling, mutual data stability, expectations. Stakeholders that would be included in those technical concerns would be your application owners, your data engineers. The other side of concern is more business specific in terms of data sharing, purpose agreements, which define usage, privacy, purpose objectives, including any limitations. Really wanted to engage like the product owners, business representatives, data owners in those discussions. So things to think about within data contracts. Data sharing agreements, by extension of data contracts. The agreements outline data usage, privacy, the purpose, any limitations. Data sharing agreements are the interface, should be independent and offer insights to what data is used for a particular purpose. They also function as an input for data security controls. Data sharing agreements also help prevent miscommunication over data usage. Domain owners should discuss data sharing and data usage issues before any data is shared. Having a common understanding is critical to regulate data and its usage and ensure delivery of value to the organization. Once all domain owners reach a collective and collaborative understanding, they should ensure the agreement is documented, again, before data is shared. And something to consider within the data sharing agreement in terms of data quality, history of data. How frequent will the data be distributed? Data lifecycle management. Once the data is outside of your control, how is it disposed of? End of life, and ensure that there's structure around redistribution of data. Again, once it's beyond your control, do they have rights to redistribute that data elsewhere? So you certainly want to define that. A couple of key considerations in data sharing. One is data subject. It essentially is the living individual to whom personal data relates. You certainly want to ensure that you define and adopt policies on data sharing that are acceptable and fair value exchange. You want to exercise their rights if they believe policies are being followed or the exchange is not fair. Some challenges with that, there's low visibility in terms of the way their data is being used or being shared. Certainly extremely challenging to determine if fair value exchange is happening and difficult to understand and execute the rights. And the other side is the data owner, who is the legal owner of the data. Certainly want to understand, what data is owned and its proper classification. You certainly want to comply with the various regulations, from North America and Europe, and maintain and enhance the value of the data asset. And on the flip side is in terms of challenges, data quality is poor and sharing it might erode the reputation of the data owner. And certainly want to ensure that you're sharing the right data at the right time. You certainly do want to share all your data because it kind of erodes the value of the data that's being shared out. And then in summary, data mesh in terms of a couple of key points around data products is essential to data mesh, where data is published rather than handed off and ownership persists. Think about business domains who are the producers and publish their data. Analytics, who are really about the innovators who add value to the data. And then think about the users, the consumers who fetch data, integrate data at when and as needed. You want to decentralize ownership of data, distribute the architecture, support big data following domain-driven design strategies. Domain definition, you want to encompasses ownership roles, the interaction model, federated and global data governance. You want to enable a well-managed metadata construct in terms of business glossary, metadata management, lineage, and then finally, you certainly want to enable self-service. Build out infrastructure for domains that leverage the data platform that really enable data sharing. And almost right on time. Any questions from the audience?
Right. I'm also checking for questions online as well. So for those of you who are, please feel free to ask your questions on the Zoom or the conference discussion session. Any questions here?
Yeah, sure. I can start it off. Thanks for the session. In terms of the Purview unified, whatever it's called, unified data something.
Data governance. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any federal government users of that yet? And what's the roadmap looking like that?
Yeah, there are a few. I can get you the lists. I just don't have that off the top of my head, but there are a few. We had a CDO session back in Ottawa a few weeks ago, and a few of them did, in the open discussion, did bring up their use of Purview. I just don't have the specific customers off the top of my head.
And like, just to is that included with our enterprise agreement?
Yeah, it's within your so there's two sides of it, right? There's the risk and compliance side, which is typically a part of the Office 365 stack. Depending on your agreement, it's typically included. The other piece, in terms of Purview for data governance, it's a service within the Azure cloud stack. So depending on depending on the number of data sources you have and frequency of scanning and that, there's costs associated with that. But that being said, it's as a service, so you're not looking to build an infrastructure, acquire the software. It's already present within your Azure subscription.
Cool, thanks.
Any other questions? Just give me 1 second. Let me double check online, both places again. I think we're good. Well, in that case, thank you, Craig.
I'll ask one more.
Please go ahead.
If we have time.
Yeah, no, we do.
So in terms of data sources, are there, for the unified data governance, is there like a series of sort of libraries to connect to, you got your Salesforce, you got your whatever, BigQuery, your Snowflake, all as data sources? And is there a connector for CCAN?
CCAN. I'm not familiar with CCAN.
Okay, it's open source data catalog, basically.
Oh, okay. If you can send exchange emails, I can certainly dig that out for you.
Cool.
But there,
thanks.
yeah.
Great. Well, thanks, Craig, for your talk. I'll give you a round of applause.